All right, let's talk about another superhero movie that has come to home theaters everywhere. I'm talking about The Batman, Matt Reeves' opus, which came out 45 days ago. And it's surreal that on Crave here in Canada and on HBO Max in the US, you can now watch this 3-hour epic, this lush, beautiful masterpiece of a movie, whether you like Batman or not, at home and get lost in it and pick up all of the details and all the work and all of the effort that the filmmaker and all of his contributors kind of put into this thing to make it feel authentic and make it feel, so satisfying, especially on my rewatch. I noticed this the first time that I watched The Batman, but the rewatch, it really hits it home. It's like you're flipping pages of an awesome Frank Miller or Denny O'Neil graphic novel. It just feels so close to the source material, and it's so well crafted. Yes, the action is in there, and I love that the action feels as in place and as tied to reality as, all of the detective work that they put a heavy emphasis on. When he does have to go into action mode, Batman sells it, and it makes a lot of sense. I also loved, on my rewatch, recognizing how much Batman throws himself and Bruce Wayne throws himself into harm's way whenever there is a child that looks like they might get hurt. And he empathizes with them in a big way. And it kind of foreshadows that idea that he's going to be a guardian for Dick Grayson and have his Robin. But I thought that was really wonderful. I also love the darkness of the movie, like the literal darkness of the movie. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to make out the shadows. Even that first very effective shot of the Riddler being revealed behind a victim is so spooky and so well realized. And, that's the film. Like, there's lots of out-of-focus shots and lots of close-ups on things that you can't quite make out what they are until the camera pulls back and sort of reveals the rest of the mystery. There's a lot of, focus pulling and interesting kind of artistry that's on exhibit as you're watching this movie that you respect. You respect the filmmaking of it. It's not a showy film that's like throwing all kinds of visual effects and CG and stuff at you. There's a little bit of it for sure, but it's a movie that takes this long to track over a cafe table to reveal a question mark in a cappuccino. There are real moments. And I think it's those real long kind of hesitations and moments where the camera's left to breathe and we see these long shots and these non-vocalized back and forth elements between characters that can turn some people off too, right? Like this is an indulgent, artful film, and I love that about the movie. I mean, when I've read some of my favorite comic books, it's really gotten granular. The Batman stuff can get really into its lore and into the head of the character, and you're psychoanalyzing who this person is, but you're also in the boots of the character because there's a lot of voiceover and narration, and there's a little bit of that in this one as well, And it kind of evoked Blade Runner, which is something that I talked about when I saw the theatrical release. It was like I felt the same kind of noir, pulpy, detective qualities out of Ridley Scott's original Blade Runner, where everything looked foreign but somewhat familiar. And I also love that about this movie too, is that Batman has awesome gadgets and tech, but they feel very grounded and rooted in reality. He has contact lenses that can videotape everything around them and can hyperlink to him back in the cave and stuff. Even if it's like pretty interesting technology, it still feels like it could be something from 50 years ago, It still feels crusty and dirty and dark, and that's that's like the core kind of vibe coming off of this. It's like these are the worst, dingiest, crappiest nightclubs in the world, but everybody wants to go and jam there and party there, and Batman gets into big fights in the middle of it. And the other thing that I just adore about this movie too is that Robert Pattinson is always Batman. Even if he's Bruce Wayne, even if he's got a baseball cap and eyeshadow over his eyes or whatever, eye makeup, he's still Batman. If he's out of the suit, he's Batman. If he's in the suit, he's Batman. But there is so much Batman. You know, he hasn't learned how to be Bruce Wayne yet, and it's going to be interesting to see what he does to kind of create that alter ego in the next film, because one other beautiful element in this movie, somewhat like No Way Home, is that we see the character mature, and we see that arc, and we see by the end of it that he's got a responsibility not just to beat the crap out of the bad guys, but to save the good people of Gotham, and to be a kind of a leader, kind of a symbol of something hopeful and positive in this city, and he does it all the way through with this credo of no guns. He's incredibly violent, and of course, he's an obsessive, and he goes over the top and beats the crap out of things. This car chase sequence with Colin Farrell's incredible Penguin is just mesmerizing. The Batmobile that they've created for this movie is right in keeping with the technology and the sort of. It's this weird combination. It looks like it's slightly in the future, but also 50 years in the past at the same time. And you could kind of say that about Blade Runner as well, right? It's like Gotham is a world that's falling apart, but it still has all of the opulence and all of the the things that you would expect out of a beautiful, technologically rich city. And I love the muted neon and the way that the city is filmed and stuff as well. The one thing that I will say about the Batman, though, is that we've had great Batman movies on screen. And yesterday I tweeted out my favorites across all of the movies and where they intersect. And they're, Nolan's shadow across the Batman is huge. And I think that Tim Burton's stuff is also so indelible as well. Like, I love Zoë Kravitz as this new Catwoman, but she doesn't hold a candle to Michelle Pfeiffer's amazing Catwoman. And the weird kind of animated vibe that the old Tim Burton movies had. Like, that felt like he looked at the 1940s comics and said, let's put that on screen. And so they all, stand apart, and they're all valid and really fun. Movies to trip through, and and they're all terrific to kind of re-enjoy. And I think that is a blessing and a curse with the Batman, because we've seen Batman on screen done so well often. But this is still magnificent filmmaking. I feel like it's an auteur piece. It really kind of showcases the talent of Matt Reeves, both as a writer and as a director. And definitely the cinematography in this film is just absolutely incredible, I think that this is one that I'm going to pick up on 4K Blu-ray, because I'm going to want it in the highest resolution that I can watch it. The stream was pretty solid, so kudos to Crave for not blowing that. But God, this is for me, this is a transcendent Batman movie. Like, I absolutely adore it, and I thought that I would, because I've liked a lot of what Matt Reeves has already worked on, and I know how smart of a movie maker he is. But I had hesitations about Robert Pattinson, and he's great. He's awesome. He's still got more range to kind of show, and what's interesting about this movie is that it tees it all up. There's a lot for this. Obviously the Joker can come into play in the future, and what other characters can come out of the shadows, out of Arkham Asylum. But this has a sort of the opening salvo from Matt Reeves and company. Incredible. I gave it a 9.5 when I saw it in the theater, and it's between a 9.5 and a 10 for me. And honestly, it's like Dark Knight and then the Batman, and then maybe Tim Burton's Batman Returns or something like that for me. I love these movies, but Matt Reeves really nailed it. So I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10, and make sure you watch it.